Some children lose their childhood slowly, a gradual fade, natural transitions. The world expands at the pace they can handle. But some children lose it in a single quiet moment. Not a dramatic breakdown, not a visible crisis, just a realization. Someone has to hold this together, and no one else is going to do it. So it might as well be me. No one asks them to grow up. They just do. They become the calm one, the responsible one, the one who doesn't need much. And somewhere in that shift, a rule gets written in invisible ink. My needs come last. Psychologists call this early emotional burden. Sometimes it's called parentification when children become caretakers. But it's bigger than a label. It's what happens when a child's nervous system learns that survival means being the adult in the room. And here's what most people don't understand. The brain doesn't resist this. It adapts. It rewires for calm, for reliability, for maturity beyond years. The cost? They stop asking. Stop expecting comfort. Stop believing rest is something they deserve. Self-reliance becomes survival. Emotional independence becomes identity. And as adults, this looks like strength, competence, stability, the person everyone can count on. But underneath, they're running on a different operating system, one built for endurance, not ease. So here are 6 signs you grew up too fast, and how it still shapes you now. Most kids get to be kids. They play without purpose. They're messy, impulsive, emotionally unfiltered. But you skipped that part. Maybe there was chaos at home, and you became the steady one, the one who didn't add to the noise. Or maybe things were just heavy, and you learned early that someone had to manage the emotional temperature of the room. So you did. Your brain made a quiet calculation. If I stay calm, things stay stable. If I'm good, I'm safe. And that worked for a while. But what happens now as an adult is this. You don't know how to play, how to be spontaneous, how to do something just because it feels good. Everything has to have a reason, a justification, a productive outcome. You're uncomfortable with silliness, with messiness, with letting go of control, even for a moment. Because your nervous system learned early that being a child was a luxury you couldn't afford. This isn't a personality flaw, it's an adaptation. Your brain protected you by making you reliable when everything else felt unreliable. But now, that same protection keeps you from accessing joy that doesn't come with a purpose. At some point, asking became too risky. Maybe you asked once and no one came. Or they came, but it made things worse. Maybe your needs were treated like inconveniences, burdens, things that took up space someone else needed. So you stopped. Not dramatically, just quietly. You learned to figure things out on your own, to handle your pain in private, to never let anyone see you struggling. And your nervous system coded this as asking for help equals vulnerability. Vulnerability equals danger. So independence became your safest option. Now, as an adult, you can't ask for help even when you desperately need it. You'll exhaust yourself before admitting you're drowning. You'll say, "I'm fine," when you're falling apart. Because somewhere deep inside, you still believe that needing something makes you weak, or inconvenient, or too much. This isn't strength, it's survival. You learned that the only person you could rely on was yourself. And that kept you safe then. But now it keeps you isolated, exhausted, carrying weight you were never meant to carry alone. You have wisdom that doesn't match your years. You can handle situations most people fall apart in. You can stay calm in chaos. You understand things about life, loss, and complexity that others your age don't. But at the same time, there are parts of you that never developed. Maybe you're incredibly competent at work, but you don't know how to flirt, how to ask someone on a date without overthinking it into oblivion. Or you can manage a crisis, but you freeze when someone asks what you want for dinner. This is uneven development. Your brain matured in the areas it needed to survive. Emotional regulation, responsibility, reading people. But the parts that required safety to grow, Playfulness, vulnerability, trust, those stayed underdeveloped. So now you feel like two people, the one the world sees, capable, together, wise beyond your years, and the one you feel like inside, confused, uncertain, still waiting for someone to tell you what to do. This isn't your fault. Development requires safety, and if you didn't have that, parts of you had to wait. But those parts don't disappear, they're just frozen, waiting for permission to finally grow. Most people rest when they're tired. It's automatic, natural. But for you, rest feels dangerous. Because when you were young, calm didn't mean safety. It meant something was about to go wrong. The quiet before the storm, the stillness before the chaos. So your nervous system learned, stay alert, stay ready, stay one step ahead. And now, even when there's nothing to prepare for, you can't relax. Your body won't let you. You fill every moment with productivity, with tasks, with something that proves you're useful. Because doing nothing feels like failing, like waiting for the other shoe to drop. And when you do try to rest, guilt floods in. You should be doing something. You're wasting time. You're being lazy. But here's the truth. Your nervous system is still braced for danger that isn't coming. It learned that rest equals vulnerability, that letting your guard down means getting hurt. So it keeps you moving, keeps you performing, keeps you proving your worth through output. This isn't laziness, this is hypervigilance. And it kept you safe when you needed to stay alert. But now it's keeping you exhausted, running on empty, unable to trust that doing nothing won't cost you everything. You apologize for asking for things, for wanting things, for taking up space, even when your needs are basic, reasonable, human. Because somewhere along the way, you learned that your needs were inconvenient, that asking for something meant burdening someone else, that the safest version of you was the one who needed nothing. So you became low maintenance, easy, the person who never asks for much. And people love that about you. But inside, you were shrinking, making yourself smaller, quieter, less. Now, as an adult, you can't accept care without feeling guilty. Someone offers to help and you immediately refuse. Someone gives you a gift and you feel like you owe them. Someone shows you kindness and you don't know what to do with it. Because receiving feels like taking, and taking feels wrong. Your nervous system learned early that your needs were a problem to be managed, not a reality to be met. So you stopped having them, or at least stopped showing them. This isn't humility, it's self-erasure. You learned that the version of you people could love was the one who didn't need anything, and that kept you safe from rejection. But now, it keeps you from being fully seen, fully known, fully human. You can read a room instantly. You sense tension before anyone says a word. You know who's upset, who's pretending, who's about to break. You're emotionally intelligent in a way that feels almost psychic. But here's the cost. You can't turn it off. And you've learned not to let it in too deep. Because when you were young, feeling everything was overwhelming, dangerous even. So you learned to observe without absorbing, to care from a distance, to help without letting it touch you. Now, you're the person people come to with their problems. You listen, you support, you give advice, but you don't let them all the way in. Because caring too much costs too much. And when you do feel something deeply, you shut it down quickly. You can't afford to fall apart. Someone has to stay functional. So you compartmentalize, you rationalize, you move on. This is protective empathy. Your nervous system learned that feeling everything meant drowning in everyone else's emotions. So it built walls, not to keep people out, but to keep you standing. This isn't coldness, it's self-preservation. You learned that caring fully meant losing yourself, and that adaptation kept you from being consumed. But now it keeps you lonely, disconnected, unable to let anyone hold you the way you hold everyone else. Here's what most people miss. Growing up too fast didn't just take your childhood, it gave you something too. Emotional intelligence, most people spend decades trying to develop. Resilience that can't be taught. The ability to handle discomfort without falling apart. You learn to read people, manage crises, carry weight others can't even see. But here's the problem. You didn't lose your childhood. You built armor. And armor isn't meant to become skin. What worked then, the independence, the self-reliance, the constant performance, doesn't work now. Because you're not surviving anymore. You're living. And living requires something survival doesn't. Trust. Trust that rest won't lead to collapse. Trust that asking won't lead to rejection. Trust that you can stop performing and still be worthy. Burnout isn't weakness. It's what happens when the absence of trust finally catches up. When your nervous system realizes, I've been running for years and nothing has changed. Healing doesn't mean becoming weaker. It means updating the operating system. Teaching your body that the rules that kept you safe then don't apply now. So what does that actually look like? It starts with permission. Not fixing. Permitting. Permission to rest without earning it. Permission to ask without apologizing. Permission to be inconvenient. To take up space. To need things. Permission to let someone else hold the weight, even temporarily. Your nervous system won't believe it at first. It'll fight you. Tell you rest is dangerous, that asking is weak, that needing makes you a burden. But here's how retraining works. You do the thing your nervous system says is unsafe. And you notice, nothing bad happens. You rest and the world doesn't fall apart. You ask for help and people don't abandon you. You express a need and you're still loved. Slowly, your brain updates its threat assessment. It learns, I can stop performing and still be safe. And somewhere in that process, grief shows up. Grief for the version of you that had to grow up so fast. For the childhood you didn't get to have. For the heaviness you carried alone. That grief isn't weakness. It's proof that feeling is coming back. That the parts of you that froze are finally thawing. You didn't grow up wrong. You grew up too fast. And you survived. But survival and living are different things. And you're allowed to put the weight down now. You're allowed to stop being the adult in every room. You're allowed to just be. So here's what I want you to do. Drop one word in the comments that describes your childhood. Quiet, fast, alone, responsible. You don't have to explain, just naming it helps. And if this resonated, subscribe. We make videos about the quiet parts of being human that most people don't talk about. Thanks for being here.